Good evening, listeners. You've not joined the darts. This is the 2P's and this is our pod. Good evening, Ben.
Evening, mate. How are you?
I am very well, my friend. How are you?
I'm alright, yeah. I'm not too bad at all. I've got my Idoneth deepkin book, so I'm very, very happy.
Do you know something funny happened today?
Did it?
Yeah, Ben Chambers, massive Imperial player, held Joshua and he just screamed the entire time until I took him back. He knew that there was no darkness within that man's soul. So, listeners, I am clearly full of chaos tonight, so we are going to start with the hobby desk. And both of us have been doing some stuff, although Ben tends to post more pictures of it and get more grumpy about the quality of those pictures. Boom!
Oh, don't even.
Then, into the Galaxy of War. What have you got for the Galaxy of War this week, Ben?
We've got an
dudes
FAQ.
with long hair. Oh, the FAQ, of course. Yes, we
Yeah.
should talk about the FAQ. And then, into the Mortal Realms, which is mostly full of water. So we'll be talking about some Idoneth deepkin for the Mortal Realms, as well as, yet again, our upcoming foray into tournaments, and the fact that I've gone really original and am painting some more corn. And then it's the community. We've got a shout out to do for an awesome sounding event that's going on down in Plymouth, and Ben will run you through the calendar as well, because he knows where to find it on the website. And lastly,
Such a muppet.
I am a muppet. And lastly, we go into the wilds, and there's a little thing about Star Wars during the rounds, isn't there? So it'd be nice to talk about that, as well as some other bits and bobs that we've seen across the last couple of weeks. So, thank you for joining us. You know what to do. Grab some refreshment. Hey, what are we going to do? We should do like the 2P's branded beer or something, shouldn't we?
I hope you haven't stopped recording.
Of course I've not stopped recording. We're a podcast. We just record our lives and then edit it for what we want to give to the listeners each week. It's like Peter Griffin and his own personal theme tune. Woohoo! Right. Anyway, I'm off to get some 2P's cola. We'll see you on the hobby desk.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 22's Hobby Desk. We've both been pretty busy this last couple of weeks, haven't we? I feel like I've got through a fair bit.
But when you say we've both been busy, I've painted a single miniature.
No, you've started on that horde of Muppets.
Well, I've been working on Jim Henderson's The Christmas Carol, clearly.
Well, that's what they look like, doesn't it? They're sort of banana-headed weirdos.
Banana-headed weirdos.
Yeah. You should paint them yellow. You'd be the first person to have a cool bloodletter army in yellow. Has anyone ever done that? That must have happened.
I'm
that
sure
would look
it
amazing.
has happened, but I've got this
their
kind
heads
of...
look like bananas.
I've got this kind of weird thing now of like, do a few of them yellow, make them like a rhino transport that looks like a banana and have the banana splits. Corn.
Oh, my days.
That's been brilliant. Maybe not. Right, anyway, that's enough insulting of me. You know, I just go out there, try and do the hobby I love, and you're like, boom! You're an idiot! I don't know what's going on.
Well, come on. Another 30...
Dude, they'll never look as funny as you do if you stick your head up and back and take a photo. Like,
oh, that was so funny.
So it's like your hair. Right, isn't there something to do with like Warhammer we're supposed to be talking about?
No.
No, just the banana splits and beard hair then.
Right, so should we talk about...
Come on, what have you been doing? You've been doing your Escher.
I have been doing my Escher. So my Escher bothered me for a little while because I really wanted to do the Morbid Mavens.
Oh yeah.
Which is one of the sample we've spoken about this loads, but one of the sample photos that they put out right when they released the Escher. And they're a blackened sort of bony cream colour. And then he'd face painted the like a skull face paint like you get from like the Mardi Gras or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you first see it, you think, oh, that'd be really cool. I can do that. And my brush control is good enough to do that. And then when I got the model, I was like, what kind of demonic entity is this person who painted that? Because the detail, the faces are tiny. So after some umming and ahhing and with a lot of to and from in between our little painting group, I had a sort of really good face paint I'm probably going to do for Halloween one year, where it was like a white background with streaking black across the face. It looks really, really good, but I don't think I'd have been able to pull it off on a miniature without it looking a bit weird. So in the end, while I was searching for face paint, I came across some really cool clown ones. And then that escalated quickly onto
the Joker.
Wouldn't it look cool if they were, if they were the Joker? So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Or that's what I've done. Purple and green. I've done purple again.
Yeah.
It's like I've got
and
a thing
green.
for purple and green. Yeah.
Are you sure you didn't just carry on? You just batch painting the goblin team and just kept going. That's how you pick colour scheme.
Yeah, that, and I've actually found the colour that I was meant to be using for the base coat of the goblins. And is it Nagaroth? Let me just
Nagaroth Knight.
Nagaroth Knight. That's the one I should have been using rather than
Xerxes.
The other one. No word. Oh, for goodness sake. Demonette Hide, which is what I use for the Blood Bowl. It's a different tone. I think the Blood Bowl one is lighter, and that's possibly better for the Blood Bowl. But yeah.
What planet were you on when you looked at Demonette Hide and thought that was the base colour for a dark purple?
Because I couldn't find another purple base coat. I didn't have Nagaroth Knight in my head at all. I thought it was a blue. And then I opened it, I was like, oh no, that's purple.
Right, okay. Fair enough.
I'm still kind of working on the old paints when it comes to some of the colours, if you know what I mean. And I kind of suppose I put Nagaroth Knight as Nightshade, which was a really, really dark blue.
Yeah.
A very strange colour, wasn't it, that?
Yeah.
Because it was quite waxy. It wasn't the same as the other paints.
I also think it was one of those that was like, yeah, I'm a blue. No, I'm a purple in your face. Yeah.
So I've actually found them quite challenging to do their faces. They just don't. You mentioned it. I can't get them to photograph well.
Yeah, but it's because you're zooming in to show the face, but then when you zoom in, it just goes a bit mad, doesn't it? You even harumphed at me down the flipping messenger.
Well, I kind of had an inkling that the photograph wasn't good, because it's one of the drawbacks of posting everything that we do on Facebook is that, and Twitter and Instagram, is that you can kind of gauge how good your model is by the reaction. And when I posted the first one, it was very slow kind of reaction, and I thought, oh, maybe it's too much of a cliche. Maybe the Joker trope was a bit done or forced and people didn't like it. And then I was looking at it and I thought, it just doesn't, actually the photo doesn't do it justice. So I pulled out that White Dwarf article. Is it from around Christmas?
Yeah.
About how to photograph your models. So I'm gonna have a look at that properly. And thing is, when you paint, you don't want to be photographing your models every day, do you? Not with a setup like that.
No.
So you have to kind of settle for your mobile phone, I suppose. Well, it doesn't matter. So I'm quite happy. There's 6 of them done now. I've done something different with those because there's 10 of them, and I brought them all up to sort of shade, and then I'm sort of working on them in 1s and 2s because I've done all of their hair greens are different tones of green.
Yep.
And all of their skin tones are different tones. So, almost, there's only, I think one skin tone is replicated 3 times, but that's the most. To try and get a nice variety across the unit. And as a result, I've been sort of doing 1 or 2 at a time. which I don't normally do.
And then as soon as they're done, you obviously need to get another box and all the new weapons.
Yeah, well, what I should probably do is get the box and get the weapons, and then as I create gangers with them, construct them and paint them. Because they're possibly the only gang I'm going to do that with for the foreseeable future until they've released them all and I can choose. Because I always did Escher. Escher were always the gang that I did until they did Redemptionists, and then I did those. But I was going to do my Goliath with like the baseball Furies from Warriors. Mm-hmm. So with face paint again. It's like can't get away from face paint. But I've actually sort of thought, well, why am I going to spend all that time on those when they're not going to be my gang? They're going to be there for somebody else to use. So I'll probably just do them.
Just leave, do a little bit more basic.
Yeah. Other than that, I whacked out the Ramshackle model that they kindly sent us for my Outlands gang. I've called them the Cult of the Beautiful Apocalypse.
Yeah.
So full of mutants and...
Are any of them going to be armed with the new, what is it called? Relic weapon?
No. I got to earn that. You got to get enough. So to fill everyone in, Shades of Chaos games periodically release a relic weapon that you can purchase by playing games effectively. So it's not money driven at all. And I've done one called the
Jolly Slapper. You called yours
the Jolly Slapper. Yeah. What's the one you've created called then, Dan?
It's called the Wolf Slayer. Yeah, it is.
Excellent. So if you're into Outlands, then the Wolf Slayer is available, courtesy of Mr. Jolly.
Oh no, it's not even called that. I don't know why I've said that. It's called the Slayer of Wolves, but I got the right idea. This feels like there should be something else on my hobby desk. Not knitted anything this week, or done any crochet?
I got the dwarves and the Skaven.
Oh, for Shadespire.
Yeah, because I didn't get them because I thought, well, if I get them, I need to paint them, which is true.
Yes.
But then I've been playing Marcus, and he's been playing with the dwarves, and he's been thoroughly whooping my ass at it. So I figured the cards are important too.
Yeah, do you know, it's funny you mention that, because I was thinking about this the other day, because I played some Shadespire a couple of days ago against Ben, and I lost real bad with my newly finished group of dudes, and I hadn't bothered really building a deck. I just took some cards, and I thought, but then I was kind of like, well, I'm not in a place right now where I want to spend, well, say because with a bit of discounts, 15, so say 60 odd quid, buying 4 groups of models that haven't got a place in my painting schedule right now.
Yeah, but you don't need to paint them.
No, you don't need to paint them, but you might want to paint them. And then, if you want to paint them, they might be sat in the back of your mind going, paint me, fool. And then that's just too much. It breaks me.
None of the Shadespire events, and I think including the Grand Clash at Warhammer World, have required them to be painted.
Well, no, and I should hope not, really.
That's unusual, though.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, it's marketed along the lines of, like, you don't have to paint them.
Yeah,
so it would then be a bit, I don't think it would fit, really.
No, I think it's a good idea. I've just remembered what it was that was at the start of this 2 weeks hobby desk, was my balls and gubbins for my goblin team. Which took me so much longer than I thought they would.
I love the one you did, the snotling dressed as a ball.
Oh, he's a sod to get on the base. I'm going to put him on a different base. I'm going to mount him on a penny, I think, because he's a right sod to fit on the base when the goblin's on.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you do it, so I'm going to put him on like a penny piece, I think. so it's got a bit of weight to
Yeah,
it.
that's a good idea.
Because I've tried all the balls. The balls fit, but they've got some crazy ass balls. There's one stuffed with explosives. It's just
there?
Amazing. Yeah. So good.
That's brilliant.
And there's one that sort of deflates, so to confuse the people. And
I can never be
Love
bothered putting the pegs in. I just use the one without a peg and drop it on the base.
yeah, that's true. I mean, you could do that, but you could do that. In fact, I've got some of the older ones that are quite nice too. But I've done the pegs. So good, sir. Your hobby desk.
So, my hobby desk, I can't remember when we recorded last. Had I finished? I don't think I had. Had I finished the Blood Reavers? No, I was still working on them. Not the Blood Reavers,
you were
Reavers.
hoping to get them across the line.
Yeah, so I finished off the Blood Reavers. They were quite fun to finish off. They didn't take too long. And I did do some blood effects, not to the level of craziness that you do your blood effects.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that. I don't with every model I do. I'd like to.
I know. But you did on your Blood Reavers, didn't you? And they do look good, and they look ace, and cool. I really like your Blood Reavers. But to be quite honest, I wasn't entirely sure I could be bothered, so I just went with.
Well, at least you're honest. Man.
Here we go. Here they are. 14th of April. So that was only. Yeah, that wasn't long enough ago for it to have been done. So yeah. New news, they're finished. So they're
Dan
done.
finishes something.
Well, and then while I was doing those, what happened was, I had seen a really nice fireslayer by Darren Latham, which is just stunning. And then I was watching a battle report, and it had fireslayers in it. And that made me think, oh, I like Fireslayer. Cool. Well, maybe I'll do some Fireslayers. And I thought, oh, I know what I could do. Rather than rush out and buy an entire army. Now, this is incredibly sensible, by the way, so please don't fall off your chairs. I will paint the one that comes in Silver Tower that I currently own and hadn't painted. So I got him out and I painted him. Now, I don't lie, he is nothing like as good as Darren Latham's, which is just stunning. But I'm really chuffed with him. I'm really pleased. The hair came out how I wanted it. The flesh came out how I wanted it. Metals. And I even had a go. I thought, right, do you know what? Gonna push myself, do something different. I had a go at marbling for the base using Duncan's guide.
Is that a sheet of cork?
Yeah, it's cork, but when you buy cork tiles, or the ones I bought from Wix, one side is like rough cork, and the other side is like a really smooth, almost laminate surface.
Yeah.
So I stuck it with that side facing up, and then broke it around the edge. And I say there's a guide. Duncan did it as a guide, so it is just Celestia or something. Is it Celestia Grey, I think? Which is the base. And then Ulfran Grey over that. And then I washed the edge, the broken bits, with Agrax. And then dry brushed it. And now he uses Prixetti white because that's the actual dry, but I just used White Scar because I didn't have the Prixetti white, and that was fine. And then just did the veins, and I think he used really watered down Administratum Grey as the start. Then in between that was a bit of Dawnstone, and then black, I think it was.
Yeah.
Right in the fine bits, and then gloss varnish. Or Ard coat to make it shiny, and then I put the model on top, and I was very happy with him.
Yeah, I liked it, dude. How did you do the hair? Because your hair's nice.
I know my hair is. I particularly like my hair. Actually, Harry likes my hair. On the dwarf. Sorry.
On the dwarf. Yeah, we got there in the end, didn't we?
So how did I do the hair? So he was So what I did, I sprayed him white, and then I washed everything on him apart from the hair with Nuln Oil. Just because sometimes when you work over a white undercoat, I find you miss a little bit, and it's like, bing, you've missed a bit, fool. Whereas by putting that wash on, it really brings out the details and fills the dark recesses. Yeah. But I left the hair, and then I washed the hair a couple of times with... Actually, no. I used the glaze, the Lamenter's yellow, just to get the yellow. And then I actually painted over that with, hang on, I'm just leaning over, Flashgit's yellow. And then I just used washes on the tips. So started with Cassandora yellow, then a bit of Fugan orange. And then I actually broke out a bit of Fire Dragon Bright, the paint. And then the very tips are like, our Evil Sun Scarlet, the paint again. Yep. And then I went over the whole thing again with the Lamenter's yellow, just to try and pull it together. Yeah,
is that the first time you've... I don't mean this to sound patronising at all, but is that the first time you've glazed after you've done a transition?
Yeah, I don't really... Yeah. I've never really used... I've got all these paints. I'm surrounded. I've just got so many paints, it's flipping ridiculous. But I don't often, step outside of my comfort zone. Which is even within doing something. So, obviously I paint dark red, brass quite a lot. But, even within those, I don't often try something different. So it's quite good to have actually done this guy, done some different stuff.
Yeah. Glazing has been a revolution for me over the last year. I used to do it a little bit before, just before I stopped painting a while back, but to tie your layers together, it's really, really useful. And the thing that I've done differently since I've restarted over a year, last Christmas or whenever, is to do a different colour than what I would normally think to do, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas before I'd say transition up through my blues and then glaze it with a blue, or transition up through skin tones and then glaze it with the mid skin tone. I've now started to say glaze it with Screamer Pink or something different.
Yes.
And it changes the whole kind of feel of the skin. You get different tones to it, which I'm quite excited by.
So you're mentioning some different paint colours there. So what do you do? Just mix them with Lamium Medium?
Yeah, if I want to glaze with a paint, I mix it at least 4-1 Lamium Medium, or even just water it right down, using water. But
do you use if you do that, do you add anything to break the surface tension, or not really?
No, because often when I'm glazing, I don't want to break the surface tension too much. I don't want it to go to the creases, because actually, if you're using a mid-tone one, I just want a film over the crease rather than it to pull there, because if it pulls there, then the creases look lighter than they should do.
Right, yeah.
So, and you can't do it like a wash. You cannot glaze like a wash. You have to apply it and make sure it's an even coat across the whole surface.
Yeah.
Even if you have to do it 3 or 4 times to get the effect that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just wash it on, you'll get pooling, and because quite often your colour is a mid-tone or something like Bloodletter, which is a really bright colour, then you'll end up with weird looking recesses.
Yeah, well, you don't want weird looking recesses.
You don't want weird looking recesses, no. So we actually, your fireslayer really gave me pause for thought, dude, because I really liked it.
Oh,
and
thanks.
I thought, wouldn't it be wicked if we did like a joint army of fireslayers or something like that?
Yeah.
To go to doubles tournaments.
Yeah.
Because, there's a reason why we do this podcast together, and one of those things is we always have an absolute hoot doing the hobby together.
Yes.
We
do.
So, when I was thinking, if I was to go to a tournament, what would be my absolute ideal tournament? It's to do a doubles tournament with you. So, having like joint armies would really rock, I think. So
yeah, I love fireslayers. I really like the aesthetic of them.
Did you see the ones that I shared on the painting group where someone has sculpted their
Yes.
So good.
Yeah. That's attention to detail.
More anatomically correct between the thighs.
Yeah. So
very good.
Moving swiftly on, I've also, because I was delving around in my box of Shadespire, Silver Tower. I always do that. Silver Tower. I pulled out my Tzeentch Arcanites as well.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, before you launch into a tirade of something that nobody really gives a damn about, I've decided to try and finish them off. So they were almost done, apart from the gold areas. So
I was about to say, Mr. Johnny, that I thought you'd painted them really quickly, but you'd already got halfway through them. But you just assume that
I had. I'd already done a lot of them when it originally came out, before getting distracted.
They are stunning, those models. They're one of my favourite models.
They're brilliant. They're really good. Yeah. Really good imagining them Tzeentch cultists, to be fair. I really like them.
And also a fantastic basis for so many things. I mean, Duncan's sort of Greek-esque themes and, I forget the name of the chaps that did it. Firestorm? Something Firestorm. They did them like the 300 Spartans. Really good.
They're a really nice sculpt as well. So the muscles on them, it's just really good. Because they've captured that kind of wiry muscle look. As opposed to just the sheer bulk. So, that's really nice, but they're not far off. I'm just putting the sort of first layer onto the gold before I do an edge highlight. And then I've made the bases. I've just got to paint them. And at the same time, I'm doing a base for the Stormcast hero because I have actually painted him, but I put him on a snowy base, and I want to move him off that now onto the marble to match everybody else. So
having them essentially so they are just for Shadespire.
Yeah. Basically, the Shadespire box set will all be on
the Silver Tower. Yeah.
Yeah, flipping heck. Yeah. Well, if you put yourself out there on these podcasts saying sometimes you'll look like a Muppet. Usually every couple of weeks, actually. But so yeah, they're not far off. Orc Blood Bowl team hasn't gone very far. I've done the base coats on the armour on 4 Death Guard, when I was sort of wandering around scratching my head. And I've finished building and base coated and washed 30 more bloodletters. Hurrah! 30 more bloodletters. Long silence.
Yeah.
So yeah. So basically, I tried, man. I painted a Nurgle Herald, and I built some Plague Bearers. But there's just so much awesome for Khorne.
I couldn't give a monkey's uncle which one of the heretics you choose to follow, but I just think my only thought on it was that I thought you would benefit from doing something other than red and gold.
I know, but so I was thinking about it and I was like, right, well, I want to do them, and then I want to add another skull cannon, and then I want the blood throne because there's a battalion with that in it. And then I was like, oh, wouldn't 3 chariots look ace? And I could take some blood warriors and put them on the back of the chariots to really tie them in with the army and have 3 of those. That would look really cool. Oh, I don't have any Wrathmongers. Oh, I'd also like Skillia, the spawn. And I'm just like, it's just ridiculous. It's just reams and reams of it. And then if I look at my 40k Khorne, I'm like, oh, it would be really nice to, get my Land Raider finished and do some Terminators and some Khorne Bikers.
Yeah, you definitely need some Khorne How have you not got Khorne Terminators?
I don't know, I just haven't got round to them. Be nice though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be nice.
And I sat down with Battlescribe earlier. I re-downloaded it because it was being ridiculous. and it wouldn't let me log into Google, so I couldn't pay to get rid of the adverts. So, I signed up as the 2P's actually, dude. So if you want to access with no adverts, you're well in there.
Oh, cool.
So that's good. So, anyway, I went through, so I put all of my 40k corn in.
Yeah.
And I've got 3,766 points painted. And I put all of my AOS corn in, and I've got 2,656 points painted for that. So, I would like to get to a place where for both systems, I can do 5,000 of corn.
Well,
so that's sort of...
Will you leave them alone then?
No. And that's sort of an end goal. Well, when I get to 5,000 in 40k, then I'm going to treat myself to a brass scorpion. That's what I've decided.
Oh, I love that model.
It's ace, isn't it? So that's sort of a... Because I had this kind of idea. Last year, I was going to try and get the armies I owned up to 5,000 points, and I got distracted and built a whole new Stormcast army. But, yeah, so I'm going to try and do that. That's sort of a...
That army is so good. And I never hear you talk about it. It's stunning. I really like it, and you never mention it. It's like, sort of dabbled with being a normal person, and then went back to the...
Yeah. So I love my corn. So, yeah, so I want to try and get to 5,000 points. Obviously, the demons cross over, so that helps quite a lot.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So there'll be a big chunk of that will be corn, bloodletters. But, Ben the Bass and I, and Tom, are going to do like a slow grow starting next month. Because Ben wants to do deepkin.
A slow grow what, sorry?
A slow grow, like, painting thing for Age of Sigmar.
Okay.
So, like, next month we've got to paint a hero and a battle line unit. So I was going to start something new, and then I was like, nah, I'm going to paint corn. So I'm going to do Scarbrand in May, because obviously every, good slow grow starts with a demon.
Yeah.
Of corn.
Yeah.
And a unit of Skull Reapers.
Oh, yeah.
Which they are guys that reap skulls, so that's cool. So that's coming up. And other things. Oh, and before the next podcast, my goal, so this is me putting out a hobby challenge for myself, is to finish the Arcanites and finish the orcs from the starter set for Blood Bowl.
Yeah.
Which are just lurking on my desk.
That would be two good jobs done, that's a bulk of...
That'd be...
Silver Tower, that is a bulk of Silver Tower, getting the Arcanites done.
Yeah, it's a good chunk of Silver Tower, isn't it?
Yeah.
And getting those orcs. So those are the two things I want off the hobby desk, finished, in time before we record next time. And then I can go to Warhammer Fest and renew my love of corn yet again.
You're going to wear red body paint
into it. Oh no! although somebody recently commented that if I wear a red t-shirt, it looks a bit like red body paint. But I thought that was a bit mean.
Yeah.
Too many pies, too many pasties.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, before we get on to that, let's shuffle over to Galaxy of War, dude.
Are you moving us on? Because
I'm moving us on
into a thing about corn.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm moving us on because we've been banging on for 33 minutes, and we got a whole other sections to do.
If any segment is if any podcast episode is ever exactly 88 minutes long, corn will. Or 88 minutes. Oh no, you can't have 88 minutes and 88 seconds. Don't leave that in.
I'm leaving it in. Yeah.
At a moment there.
Staying in.
Let's move on.
Well, thanks for joining us, guys. And we'll see you on the other side.
Galaxy of War! Welcome back, listeners. The pod thunders ever onwards. But you know what? If it's the first turn, it better be coming down in our deployment zone. I've been thinking of that since the FAQ came out, Ben.
Have you really? That's
No, it just came to me then. That's why I gave a little chuckle before we started recording. It's like, I thought of something funny to say. Well, so, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, fine hobbyists, there is a big FAQ. Little later than originally promised. So, I think the plan was originally March, but they were very open and honest and just said, no, we can't do that. So, April, we've got a big FAQ. Yeah. Well, I say a big FAQ, Ben. It's not like reams and reams, is it? It's just got some big...
I think what they mean by big
changes.
FAQ is that exactly that. It's changes to the rules. And balancing. So I was always under the impression that we were going to get the balancing with chapter approved. Just like you did with General's Handbook. And they've released those posts saying, oh, this is what the FAQ schedule is going to be like. And I was like, why do I care? What's the big deal about that? But now I've seen it, I get it. It's quite cool. And I know this is an actual change to rules based on feedback that they're getting for a game system that we're playing at the moment. I think that's massive. I don't know what you think. Because it feels like you don't have to wait for 3 years for those changes that really irritate you or have not been so good to be made.
It is cool. No, you are right, and I do think it's really nice to see the interaction with the community, getting the feedback, particularly from the large sort of events and tournament organisers, where you get to see a lot of things appear on the table and see what's effective, what isn't, what works how you wanted it to work, what doesn't. So that's a good pool to draw from. My reservation is that I feel like we are swiftly moving to a place where you're going to have your book, then you're going to have your FAQs, and you're just going to end up with reams and reams of stuff. So when you're actually looking something up, I don't know, a rule, whatever, tactical reserves, for example, which has had a big change, you can't just go to the rule book. And if you are new to the hobby, you might not know that you can't just go to the rule book for your tactical reserves because it's somewhere else. But it's difficult. It's difficult because you can't have both. You can't have, presumably the idea is to try and bring as much balance as you can to a game which is ultimately quite fluid. Like there's a lot, you've got an open play battlefield. It's going to be difficult to make it balanced with so many, variances and stuff going on. But trying to get it as balanced as you can without having all these bits and pieces. And I suppose if you are very much into the game and go into events and seeing how well you can perform alongside, against other people that play the game as well, then perhaps you're not going to find it so, basically the positives of having things up to date and balanced will outweigh the negatives of having to carry around a bit of extra paper. I don't, the bit of extra paper is a limited problem to me. So you've got your rule book and then you'll have your rule book FAQ. And that's your rules. I mean, but that's now. So 40k came out last year. Yeah? Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. And then we had chapter approved with its updates. Yeah. Now we've had a big FAQ. If, and it might change, but if it holds true to the form as suggested, in fact, I think it mentions it in here, we'll have another chapter approved. Then we'll have another FAQ. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, but you don't need to carry all those things around, dude. That's what the point I'm getting. You just print off the most recent FAQ. It will have the updates from chapter approved in rules-wise. So you just go online, print off your FAQ, and you keep that with your rulebook. That's what
simple.
That's what I'm getting at. You're not going to have to carry FAQ 1, chapter approved. You know, you're not going to have to do that. You're just going to need your most up-to-date FAQ.
It doesn't really matter to me. I use an iPad.
Well, yeah, if you use it digital, it's even more simple. But I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. What I'd like to see them do is when they released the game, they released Battle Primer, which is like a small rulebook that they were handing out in stores. Basically the rules section of the rulebook and nothing else. I'd like to see them do those. Maybe on the store birthdays. That would be quite cool. Mm-hmm. Just as an update, if you go in on the store birthday, you get one of those. Then you've got a hard copy that has the FAQ in it. But I don't know. I think it's exactly what you said. It's really difficult to not have all of those gubbins with you and have a game that's keeping up with itself.
Yeah.
And I think having played since 2nd edition, I'm much happier carrying around an FAQ printout that's 8 pages long.
Yeah.
I mean, the rulebook isn't exactly massive, is it?
No.
The actual
and to be honest, I think it's important to say that I would far rather have it this way than what we had a few years ago when there was almost zero interaction.
Yeah.
But the podcast is a forum for you and I just to chat about the hobby and how we feel about it. So I think it's good to have that conversation.
Absolutely.
And it would be really interesting as well. We'll obviously you'll normally do a post and point people in the direction of the show notes, but and we did do a post about the FAQ, but maybe I'll have a look and pick out a couple of things that interest or bother me and get some feedback, see what some of the community think.
Well, let's go through it because it's not a massive one, so it's something that we can.
No.
So the finalised match pages. One of the things that I really like is that they've got beta rules and then they've got the finalised stuff. So beta rules are stuff that they're testing. Have a go with them. If you like them or dislike them, then you can email them and give your opinion.
That's cool, isn't it?
I think is brilliant. So there's 2 rules that they've brought in. So the first one is psychic focus. So before, a psychic power could be cast as many times as you wanted, but never twice by the same psyker. And now it's changed so that you can only use the psychic power once per turn, regardless of how many psykers you have.
So that falls in line with Age of Sigmar matched play.
And I think, obviously they were getting some spamming going on. And, I mean, I play as Space Marines and you play as Khorne, so we're not... I at the most have had 2 psykers in my army. And you shouldn't have any, really, unless you're doing something heretical.
I'm doing something heretical every single day.
And,
I'm not doing that.
But having fought a couple of guard armies where they've had multiple Primaris psykers, it's a bit galling to get battered by the same thing over and over again. And the change on Smite is that every time you cast it, whether you fail or succeed, the next time you add 1 to the warp charge value, unless you've got a special rule which negates that, and notably the Grey Knights and the Thousand Suns, which I like. I think that's good because Smite is a git. So it's nice to have that sort of limited, although I don't think it's going to make much difference for most armies, only for the units of Primaris Psykers, for example. So, I mean, I quite like that. I think that's a good change. And like you said, it brings it in line with Age of Sigmar, and I like that psychic rules as well, so or the magic rules in that. So what are your thoughts?
On the Smite and the magic?
Yeah.
Sorry, the psychic powers. Sorry, man. I know I was clearly very distracted then. I was actually going back and looking at the post where we put the FAQ and looking at some of the listeners' comments. But to answer your question, I think the 1 psychic power per turn thing is cool. I mean, it's difficult to have a view, mate, I'm afraid, because I haven't played against a great deal of psychers, and I certainly don't play with any psychers.
Yeah.
I did play against a Tzeentch army in the tournament not long ago, and that was a bit brutal with a load of psychic powers going around. But we used the beta rules.
Okay. Yeah.
Those rules. So with the smite. So and before that, I hadn't come across it a lot. So it's difficult to have an opinion on that.
Okay.
But it seems to be something. I mean, looking through, there's one out of about 30 comments. There's one person that wasn't too keen on that thing, but that was the only thing. But doesn't seem to have had a big backlash, the psychic power thing.
The next one has, and I can understand it because I don't know quite why. I haven't heard them really elaborate as to what their decision-making process is on the targeting characters, but that's the next one, and they've made it even harder, essentially. So now, you cannot target a character with wounds of 10 or less if there is any model closer, whether you can see them or not. Any enemy model closer, whether you can see them or not. And, well, people don't like that. I think it's about 50-50.
I thought that was always the case, that even if they were out of line of sight, this is about changing it so that other characters don't count. Because what was happening is you had armies that were just like, I don't know, 12 assassins.
Yeah.
And then you just run up the board with one assassin out the front with all the saves in the world, or a character with all the saves in the world, and you couldn't go past that character. So basically you protected the entire rest of your army because it was all characters.
I'm gonna pause it and just double check that.
Yeah, so we've looked it up in a brief time warp, and Ben was right.
Yeah, so you could only target the character if he was the closest visible model. Now you can only target him if he's the closest model, period. So you can have a hidden scout, like, sat in a building where you can't see them, stopping you from targeting the character. There must be a reason why they're doing it. This must be something that's come out of playtesting that totally breaks the game if you can just pick out the characters, mustn't it? Because they're really sticking with it. In fact, they've tightened it up. So, I think with this one, as much as a lot of people don't like it, my view is the guys who are designing this, they know what they're doing, and there must be a reason for this. It would be nice if they explained to us what it was, but they haven't. So we're just going to have to swallow that pill, I think. The next two are beta rules. Tactical reserves have changed quite dramatically, haven't they? As you alluded to in your intro.
Yes.
So the beta is now effectively, from watching the tournaments, they found that armies that used a lot of tactical reserves were winning more often than not, and often wiping out the enemy in the first turn, if they got the first turn. So they've done two changes. So the first one is they've clarified some wording. So originally it was half of your army had to set up on the table, but what they've clarified is their intention was that was half the army in sort of power. So they now said half of your power level has to start on the table.
Yep.
And the other thing is that you cannot you can't deep strike on your first turn anywhere other than your deployment zone. So essentially, there's no point.
Well, no, there is, because if the enemy,
if you went second, you can keep the unit off the table and then bring them on into your side. Some interesting stuff though is that There are units that are exempt from this, like the Genestealer cult's practically the entire army, a number of other things, including the Grey Knights with their teleportation thing, because and the stratagem for the Raven Guard, the
Strike from the Shadows.
What is that called? Yeah, that's the Badger, because they're a deployment thing rather than a first turn thing. So yeah, they're exempt. And they did that. They did an FAQ as a kind of clarification photo online, which helped, I think, with that one. I'll pop that in the show notes. So that one's to be played out and see. That's a beta test. So guys, I fully recommend that everyone engages with the feedback. Have a go. If it works, then say so. If you don't like it, then tell them. It's the only way you're going to get
this
it
is actually one that does affect me. Since the new Demon Codex.
I was actually going to ask you about Demon Codex. It does limit you.
Well, it does, but it's only one turn, isn't it? And they can't get shot when they're in the warp. I think that what I like about it is, so one of the things that happens a lot in my games of Age of Sigmar that I play, bear with me, because I know this is Galaxy of War, is that by the end of turn 2, turn 3, the game is over. In as much as there's been like an alpha strike or something, and one side, either the alpha strike has worked, hurrah, smash the enemy apart, and it's all over, or it's been crushed and there's nothing left to stop the enemy, and it's all over. So what I like about this is it's just trying to draw the game out a little bit and make it, the 6-turn adventure that it is. And through FAQs and changes, create something where the game can be enjoyable for both sides, even if people are in a competitive environment. Because we talk a lot about the gaming contract, and in a competitive environment, the contract is, I've come here for fun, but also to be competitive, to compete, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with that. And this way, I suppose it just draws the game out a bit.
It makes turn 1 a whole new beast as well. A whole new beast. It's about manoeuvring, about covering those gaps that you couldn't cover, trying to work out where they're going to deep strike, and actually give you a chance to sort of look at your opponent, look what they've deployed, and think, how do I stop that? It makes it a little bit more tactical, and I like it for that reason. I'm a big fan of this one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Big fan. Battle Brothers is the next beta, and this one confused you a little bit.
Well, it confused me because it says all of the units in each detachment in your battle-forged army, and people think, what are you talking about? But I read that essentially as all of your units in your army.
Yeah.
I still read it and feel like it can be read in that way, but my brain is probably addled by drinking too much Diet Coke with all its
That's part of me.
Yeah, in it. But that's why it confused me, and I was flipping annoyed. But once I calmed down and realised what I was talking about was a load of rubbish, it's just within the detachment, isn't it?
It's just within the detachment.
The keyword.
And I think the reason why I'm not bothered about this is because this is how I play the game.
Well, yeah, me too.
I don't have a detachment with one squad of Grey Knights, a squad of Space Marines, a squad of Imperial. I don't do that. I mean, I've seen people who do that, but I don't do it. It doesn't make any sense to me that an army would do that. A battalion is a force structure with a commander and a unit of troops that is meant to portray an actual army, not some ragtag bunch of misfits that have just been bolted together for... Do you want to play that? Then play Kill Team or something.
Space Wolves.
Yeah, very good. But yeah, there's some, with this, I think the idea is to get rid of the soup armies. Well, that's what they've said it is, so that's really cool. There is some people who are exempt for some rules because of this. So, for example, the Legion of the Damned can have a Vanguard attachment without a HQ, and so can a whole bunch of other stuff. But
only if their warlord shares.
Yes, the Imperium keyword. So, for example, the Null Maidens, Saviour from Beyond, Execution for... So, effectively, the Assassins, a bunch of these sort of Imperial agents, the Legion of the Damned. You can have them as vanguards without a HQ. So, I think that's pretty cool. I think that covers that base. And they've kind of clarified as well about... the Ynnari, which I think they just need a book, frankly, Dan. They need a codex, because at the moment, I think I would struggle hard to put an army together for them. Interim balance. So this one we'll just run through this really quickly. You get some more command points for your battalion and your brigade detachments. I like that. Thank you very much. The biggest problem I have with command points is every time I go to play Age of Sigmar, a dice goes bad and I'm like, it's okay, I'll use a command point to oh, bugger. Wrong game. That is the problem with command points. Tide of Traitors is apparently too effective.
Oh, I rage! Quick, where's my salt? I'm broken. Who wants to buy a corn army? Where are my matches?
So you can only use your brand new spangly command points that you've got extra for only one of those. So, Sorry, mate.
Very sad. But, to be fair, when I run a unit of 40 cultists and there's one left and I bring 39 back... to be honest, I only ever used it once. It's 3 points. So a lot of command points. But I'm still absolutely gutted and deserve a refund on my codex.
Word of the Phoenix is a bit too biff. And they've changed that a bit. So they've increased the warp charge value to 8. This is the one I really like because, I have played a number of units that spammed this before. So abilities which ignore wounds can no longer stack. And thank God, because it was just ridiculous. Some units with their armor save, and then they're 5+, and then a 6+, and then a 6+. By the time you've gone through like 3 buffs, it was just getting a bit silly. And it was one of those rules where, for me, it could irritate me. So when I was playing someone and they go, oh, I've got my 6+. I go, oh yeah, cool, fine. Oh, I've got another 6+. Okay. Oh, I've got another one. And you're like, oh, go away. So yeah, I'm glad that's changed. Really am glad. Organised play. They've now capped the number of times a data sheet can be included per different points, and essentially you can have 2 per army, up to 2,000, up to 1,000, 3 up to 2,000, and then up to 3,004. I would really like to know how this is going to affect some of the Horde armies, dude. I mean, if you're orcs, for example, you're going to take more than 3 of something, surely.
Yeah, but you've got, in 1,000 points... Well, in 2,000 points, you could have 3 flipping battalions, couldn't you? Which is 9 choices of each of the elite, fast attack and heavy support.
No, it's talking about data sheets, mate, per detachment.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, so number of detachments is 3 per army, yeah, but number of data sheets.
Sorry, I was half asleep then. So
if you've got a Horde army, or even like something like Guard, where they're fairly cheap, then there's a number of armies that could, to fill 2,000 points, and you can only have 3 Tempesta Scions data sheets, for example. They're not expensive. They're half the price of a Space Marine squad. Hack, spit, salt.
I only field things in 3s.
Yeah, but I mean, neither of us play a Horde army, but I'd be interested to see how this plays out for Tyranids, Orcs, Guard, that kind of army, because I think that could, especially Orcs, really limit them. Because some Orc players would want to have a whole army of killer cans, and I don't blame them, because they're wicked models, and let's see. We'll see.
Well, and it doesn't apply to troops or dedicated transport.
No, it doesn't. No. So that solves the Tempestus Scions, actually, so ignore me on that. So there we go, that's the big FAQ. That's the first time we've done a really rulesy kind of section, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably why we had to pause in the middle, have a look at the rules, and then I've just talked about organised events where I clearly hadn't read the FAQ, and you spoke about a unit that wasn't affected anyway.
Well, yeah.
But other than that,
polished, mate. Absolutely polished. So, that's our take on FAQ.
I'll take.
So, just a brief look, because we've got a few minutes before we get to 30, but a little brief look into the future. We've got a number of codexes coming up that I'm quite excited about. I'm really looking forward to Deathwatch, because Deathwatch was the first of the 7th edition codexes that I bought. In fact, for like at least 2 years, I got so excited about it. So I'm really super looking forward to see how they've redone those.
I like Deathwatch, man. I really do. But I mean, I like them as an army. It's cool if you're into that. That's cool. But I do prefer. I liked it back when they first sort of appeared, and they were just like an elite squad that you put within your army.
Yes, I mean,
which you can still do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of probably how I'm going to play them is use them as a sort of vanguard or something. Or play them as a small army, so 1,000 points or something. I don't know. Something nice and small and focused, so it feels right.
It's good that you're doing some Deathwatch, because you can't do Grey Knights, because they would just start slaying all your mutant Space Wolves, wouldn't they?
I think you find that the Grey Knights have seen the Wolfen and are perfectly happy. So, right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the Mortal Realms, where I get to talk about the Fish Elves. See you on the other side. Hi guys, and we're into the Mortal Realms. And I've got my new shiny Idoneth Deepkin. So, before we start, is it Idoneth Deepkins or Idoneth Deepkin?
I say Idoneth Deepkin, and I am a paragon of pronunciation.
Yeah. I haven't made my mind up. I think I'm going to go with Idoneth Deepkin.
Just call them the Deepkin.
Deepkin. Yeah, we can't get that wrong, can we?
Well, we'll have a go.
So, the Deepkin. I only picked this up yesterday, and I haven't really had time to sit down and trawl through it, but it's gorgeous. The artwork is absolutely amazing. It's just everything I want from a book.
I must say, actually, you mentioned the artwork. When Ben Chambers, Ben the Bass, is picking up Deepkin, and he's got the book, and we were looking through it, and the artwork is incredible. It's really good. Like, the artwork really is always good in the codexes, but I don't know if it was because obviously it's all fresh, all new artwork, but I just remember looking through it and commenting and saying, that artwork is really good.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I was just thinking about this earlier today, we're getting so used now to having new races, new armies, new things, that it's almost amazing that when they something like this comes out, that it's still so... They've done a really good job of keeping this quiet. Like a really, really good job. They've hinted about it. They've guided the narrative on it. So that I'm looking through this book and everything feels new. It's so exciting. There's, the pages of art are gorgeous. There's every page I'm reading something that's brand spanking new. And people who've been playing the game for long enough will, particularly 40k, when you start reading the background section of a codex, and there's a sort of aching familiarity about it, and you go and get the last Space Marine Codex, and it's pretty much word for word for whole sections of it. It can be a little bit disappointing, not unexpected, and there's nothing wrong with it, because if they feel they've got it right the first time, why bother rewriting it? But when you get something brand new like this, mate, and every page you're reading is like a revelation.
It's nice to have something where you want to read, because like what I find I often do is I'll buy a book and I'll, background wise, I won't necessarily read it cover to cover because it's the Space Marine book and I've read a lot of Space Marine background before. And then naturally, you probably miss out on little snippets. Whereas with something like this one, you're going to read it all because you've not read any of it before.
No. And I think one of the things I really like about it is that the background fits with the kind of... We haven't really heard about them yet. Because they one of the big things is about secrecy, because... well, we probably covered this last time in detail, but when they were made, by Teclis, they realised that they needed to literally steal souls from other things to exist, to live, to carry on. And it talks about in the book about how they actually really struggled with that to start with, the kind of moral thing of stealing souls from somebody else. But then they got over it. And but part of their kind of new culture is secrecy, which is interesting because for me, who is going to come after you when you live on the bottom of the ocean?
Well,
I'm serious.
You say that though, but probably firstly it's the mortal realms, and secondly, like if you knew that people were coming and nicking your souls, you'd probably like bend your efforts to getting them.
Yeah, or stopping them. But effectively, the sea, that magical sea that they come ashore with, effectively wipes your memory. So even people who've been in combat, even people who've been wounded by them, can't really remember what it was they were fighting. And those that do don't remember detail. And I can't remember where it was I was reading it, but there was a great little story or kind of section in, I think it was Malign Portents actually, where it's like a conversation between, like a written conversation between the Inquisitors and a guard captain. I just grabbed the Malign Portents book down, so I've got to stand up. And the guy's saying, "Oh, we've been attacked, and it's by these things, but I don't really know what they are." And then the Inquisitors are writing back saying, "Well, it's clearly just orcs."
Yeah,
it's not orcs. I know it's not orcs, but I can't tell you what they are. It's really good, and I'm just flicking quickly through the Malign Portents book to see if it's in there. I've got a feeling it is, but I might be wrong.
While you're looking at that, I have to tell you, last night we had the mother of storms. It was flipping ridiculous. There was so much lightning, mate. I looked in the garden, and there were Stormcast Eternals appearing. It was ridiculous.
Well, if they were going to come anywhere first, it would be to sort you out.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it was those white ones as well. in the white armour that were like, chaos! It's like, flipping it, I'm not chaos. Why are there tentacles coming out of your ass? I don't know. Not my fault.
I can't find it. It might have been
it did give me a nice ample opportunity to put in a random bit of filler about storms and tentacles.
So I really liked that, and I think it's a really cool part of their mythology, and it means that as well, rules-wise, that's reflected by the fact that you can only target the closest thing. It's a bit of a kind of a circular thing back there from 40k, because you can't literally focus on anything else.
There's that in itself has created a new magical item, which is Tears of the Wanderers players. So it's a special item. You just collect their tears into a little vial, and then you can keep it. But if you drink it, you can actually target any unit on the board for one turn.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense though with this army, because just having a quick flick through, and you had a chance to read the War Scrolls, haven't you?
I've had a look. Yeah, they've started appearing. I don't know if they're all on there, but they've certainly started appearing on the app. So I've been having a look, looking at like the command abilities and the synergies.
And that's
those are the bits that interest me.
That's what I was about to get at. I think it is quite a character-driven army, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's lots of characters, they're releasing loads of them. And actually, one of my favourite models in the range, if not my actual favourite model, is the guy that like hooks the souls. He is called the Escher Soul Render. I just think he is awesome. He's got like a little swordfish friend that goes around with him, and a bit of a kind of it's like a kind of a lasso, I don't know, rending hook thing, and he's got this lure light. And what he does is he allows you to return slain models to a unit. Of Namati, because he kills people and then lures in their soul. And then if he has caused damage in the previous turn, you add 1 to that for each enemy model that was slain by damage caused by his hook.
Oh yeah. Which
is not rubbish.
No, no, not at all.
So that's pretty cool. And the model is awesome. I love the head on that, what's that one called? Sorry, just 1 minute. The Soul Scryer, which is the guy with, I don't know what those are. This looks like one of those dream catchers that you hang outside your window.
It is, yeah, on a staff, yeah.
On a pole, yeah. So the head is just phenomenal. Really, really good. And the little fish. Although, my days, you'd want to think about how you store him, wouldn't you?
All of it.
Yeah, it's insane, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the fish on everything, they're just...
Look at this Soul Render guy stood on a little rock, and it's got barnacles and limpets on it.
Yeah.
That's just fantastic, isn't it? It's just fantastic.
The movement in the army, I mean, when I first saw it, I don't know if you can recall what I said, but it's the colour and the movement that get me. Everything about them is filled with movement. Even the Namati Reavers and Thralls, they're really mobile. They look like a raiding army. And because of the fish, you get that sort of real kind of forward movement. If you know what?
Yeah.
Like a kind of... Yeah, love it.
Clever,
really,
isn't it, really? Like,
it is clever.
It's very clever. It's really awesome. Shipwreck, you get a shipwreck. That's cool.
Yeah, and the rules that it adds are quite good. And we've talked a lot about themed scenery, haven't we? And I think actually them releasing special pieces of scenery for each army would be really cool. And they've done that now.
Did it. The Nurgle had it, didn't they? With their tree.
and they've got it now with the shipwreck.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good trend. I like that a lot.
Yes.
I really, really do, because one of the things that I get a little frustrated with in 40k is all the scenery is Imperial.
Yeah.
Not all, but the vast majority of it is
Most of
Imperial.
it is, to be fair, isn't it?
And I think that's fine, because most of the planets that you're fighting on are going to be Imperial, but I want some elf buildings and some Tau buildings and Eldar building. Let's have some... I like the variety, and I think even if it's just one kit for your army, I think that's a huge step forward, and I really like it. One of the things I like about this book is that it feels a little bit more like the codexes of old and the army books of old. There's a stunning painting section.
Yes.
Really, really good. Step by step of how to paint every single one of the factions that it has outlined in the background. All 6 of them. And then it goes into real detail, like how to paint the eels and the tassels and the little sea creatures and the different ways of painting the blades and how to get the bone effect, like the coral effect. And it's got a few sections in about dry brushing, which I'm quite keen to try out those makeup brushes on the Advice on the Pro Painted podcast. But I think it's nice to see dry brushing getting a revival. It really is, because I mean, I think I first started to really get put onto this was when I was speaking to Tommy Sewell, and he was talking about there's dry brushing and there's dry brushing. Just like every technique, there's a spectrum of bad dry brushing and then good dry brushing. And his Golden Demon entries in the past have been dry brushed. His Baneblade that did really well, I think it was a runner-up, was dry brushed. And if you get a chance to go onto his stuff, his Space Wolves, and have a look at his tanks, they're dry brushed and they're phenomenal. They look like they're airbrushed. So I think there has been a period where they've done away with it. They've sort of gone, washes and these other things are better. But nothing beats dry brushing for getting a specific sort of texture and the speed of application. I don't think.
For me, it's like, it's just another thing in the toolbox.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I work a lot more basic with my thoughts with painting, but if I'm painting a base with texture on it, there ain't no way I'm getting out a layer brush and painting each piece of sand, is there?
No.
It's, so yeah, I agree. Looking through the book, it has got that old school feel, and it's really nice because it appeals to lots of people. It's interesting. It's got the points in the back, and a number of books have had the points in the back now, and I just find that odd. I think that I just assumed from the way the game went when points were first sort of brought out in the General's Handbook. And I thought 40k was going to go the same way, that points wouldn't be in army books. They would just be in the handbook or the chapter approved. So if you wanted to play in organised matched play, or wanted to play match play within that year of the scene or the season, I suppose, you just picked up the latest one of them, and that had all your points, which you still will be the case. I just didn't think they'd have put points in, but they have.
Well, they've got to, haven't they?
Why?
Well, because they're new.
Well, yes, but they've done it in other books where it isn't new, and they could have just done them as a download.
Maybe. I think that goes back to what we were talking about in the FAQ section, doesn't it? That people they want to get their deepkin book and be able to play them straight away without having to download a set of points. And that will be the case right up until they get chapter approved for the next season.
Yeah. It doesn't matter, it's just a comment.
And really, it's just the back page, and it's not many. But yeah, I think it's a bit overwhelming in some ways, the book, because I'm used to the Iron Ironjaw's book, which has got like 6 units. so having a book with like so many units, I'm a bit like, oh my days, where do I start? What? So yeah, and one of the things I really like in it is there is a war scroll that is called the Alliance of Wood and Sea, and it's, well, I'll read it out. When old grievances and mutual mistrusts are set aside, the Idoneth, deepkin, and the Sylvaneth can combine to make a powerful force. Few foes can stand before the mystic powers of the wood and the deep places. As sea monsters and living tree spirits fight side by side within the ether sea. That's wicked. And the rule, cool. I just think that's cool. But I mean, I haven't read the background to work out why, particularly the Sylvaneth and the
You'd have to paint them as like driftwood, wouldn't you?
Well, it's interesting how you paint them, because actually there isn't. One of the things I've noticed about the deepkin is there is not much brown.
No.
Whereas with the Sylvaneth, it's the exact opposite. It's practically all brown. Yeah. So the strength of the ether sea, the Sylvaneth units from this battalion have the Tides of the Death battle traits. Ouch. And gain abilities from the Tide of Death table in the same manner as the deepkin.
Ooh.
It is quite a list, though. To have that, you need the Tidecaster, 2 units of Achelian Guard, 1 unit of Namati Thralls, 1 unit of Namati Reavers, a unit of Achelian Adapexes, 1 Branch Witch, 2 units of Dryads, and a Tree Lord Ancient. So there's no messing around with it.
No.
It's quite a thing. That would be Jo will be super stoked about that, because she would love to play a mixed Sylvaneth Deepkin army.
Oh, do you know, I hadn't even thought about that, of course, because Jo's doing the Sylvaneth, isn't she? So,
well, she's doing units from the Sylvaneth.
Yeah, that's excellent.
She's not a keen fan of the Dryads, but she might get over that to paint that lot. But, yeah. So I think one of the things that I really like is that my favourite, and I don't know their names yet, sorry everybody, but the Eel Riders are my favourites, I think. Yeah, the Morsar Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really like
them. There's a few, isn't there? What's that, 2?
Yeah, there's a few different sort of...
Morsar and the Ishlean Guard.
I think it's just really cool to have a whole new kind of thing to explore. For me, it feels like Age of Sigmar is building up to something.
I think, looking at the new stuff, like outside the box stuff that's coming out for Age of Sigmar, it also makes me intrigued to see if we'll see something new for 40k as well. Like a whole new faction. Because there doesn't seem to be, there just isn't the kind of reticence it seems to do totally different stuff. Well, I suppose that's what they created by creating Age of Sigmar, and it's wonderful to see. Really, really wonderful. I mean, an entire new faction. I mean, that's just fantastic. I suppose the Fireslayers were entire. There was no models that existed previously for them, so that was entirely new as well.
Caradron.
Caradron as well. I mean, that's just amazing, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I think, for me, I think that's the thing that Age of Sigmar really did. I think doing Age of Sigmar, making that move was incredibly brave. I think they managed to hold the fort. I think that's probably the only way you can put it. Until they could start to really sort of show what that reason was. And that reason was really to take away that really restrictive imposition of the old world that, I mean, we've spoken about this, I don't want to wax lyrical about it again, but by taking that away, they can now do what they want. And I think the Deepkin are a wonderful example, and I think the Caradron Overlords are a wonderful example. And I'm now in a position where, for the first time in a long time, with Games Workshop, and particularly with the fantasy range, I have no idea what they're going to do next. At all. I mean, if you think back for when we were working and we were told, the Empire are getting re-released, for example, the biggest shock for that release was that they weren't wearing shoes.
I
No?
I don't know that that's entirely fair.
What is it? What was it about that issue? What?
Well, you had the Empire Griffin, the massive
reimagine
Griffin.
It. Yeah, no, that was not for that release. That was when they redid it for the next one, when they brought out the Griffin Riders as well. The little kind of a cavalry one. I mean, like the release before.
What I would say, aside from the shoes, is that what you see now, or how it feels at least, is that where before, when something was redone, you were probably you get quite excited to see a new plastic thing.
Yeah,
and
so metal becoming
hero.
Plastic. Yeah, metal becoming plastic and a new hero. That was your kind of.
And what we're seeing now is a whole new
everything's.
Yeah, which makes sense, because if you think about it, even from a business perspective, if you release new Chaos Corn Berserkers, for example, hint, lots of people are going to have Corn Berserkers. Clearly, people in the know are listening, so I can say hint. Lots of people are going to have Corn Berserkers already, so. Some of those will buy new ones because they're the new hotness, but some will say, no, actually, I'll just keep with my own. Whereas if you bring out something brand new, no one's going to have it already. Everyone wants the new hotness. Well, not everyone, but you get what I mean.
I do. And there's only so many times you can reimagine an old thing.
Yeah, well, a guy with a human with a spear in medieval-esque outfit is gonna always be that guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good. Very cool. When are you getting your first miniature? You still doing your combined army with Joe?
I don't think it's gonna be any time soon, if I'm being honest. Having just painted my Iron Jaws, there's a few things I wouldn't mind adding to that, really, to sort of finish that off. I've got it's taken every ounce of my energy not to go out and buy the whole lot. I don't know, difficult, because I'm still not in a good place with my Space Wolves yet. I feel like there's a lot to do with them, just for starters. I mean, I haven't even painted an Intercessor squad, so that has to happen. Or the Hellblasters, or Health, whatever they're called. Oh yeah, the Hellblasters.
Yeah.
They need to be done. So I suppose I'd like to get Dark Imperium painted, including the Chaos side of it. They are going to be a whirlwind of dry brushing and washes. And streaking fluid, I think.
Now, before we move on and start talking about painting 40k, I do need to talk about the fact I played a game of Age of Sigmar this week that I've not spoken about yet. So I played against some Wanderers who did not have the Tears of the Wanderers special item that I've come up with. Against Mr. Wasley and his Wanderers army, we were playing a 1,000-point game to practice for the upcoming event. And it was a solid victory to the forces of Khorne. Much weeping on the side of the Wanderers, but I didn't have a vial to capture the tears. It was a good game. To be honest, as is often the case, the victory points at the end didn't really match what the game was like. I mean, it opened very dramatically in the favour of the Khorne, but it was, I think really, Dan would agree, it came down to one single thing, which was a gap that Dan left where I could get my bloodletters through to his home objective and into his Eternal Guard and Wildwood Rangers with one epic charge, and they just went mental, as they do, bloodletters, and carved up a load of stuff. So hence why, well, no, I'm painting 30 more because I just felt the urge. Nothing to do with how effective they were in that battle at all. But yeah, it was a really good game. Thanks to Dan for playing that. It was nice to play a game because the hobby room hasn't been game able for a while because it's full of stuff because we were decorating somewhere else, but that's now good done. So good game. Good chance to try out a list for the tournament next weekend, and nice to win some Age of Sigmar before I go off to the event and probably get promptly squished 3 times.
Yeah, well, yeah. No comment. I'm going to get smashed. Never mind.
So with that, it is just coming up to the half-hour mark.
Yes.
Any
Goodness
more
me.
poignant things that the world simply must know, Mr. Hall?
No.
No. Okay, well then, listeners, I actually do need some refreshment. So we will see you in the community. The pod thunders ever onwards, and now it reaches a community.
Hey!
Where's it gonna land? Woo! Anyway, enough silliness. Actually, what I'm talking about, that's ridiculous. It's gonna continue being silly. So, in our constant quest to big up the community, and make it smile a little bit, this is a section where we talk about stuff either we've got up to, you guys have got up to, or, what's coming up for everyone to get up to.
Yep.
So, through the magic and wizardry of computer-ness, Ben has got a calendar on the website, so we've got a load of stuff on there, and he's going to go through that. But first, had some contact today. Phone went ping, had a look.
Yep.
Chap called Mark Langworthy has contacted us, which is real cool. Having spoken to Mike down in Games Workshop Plymouth, who said to him, get in contact with these guys, they're nuts, and they'll talk about your stuff. Thank you, Mike. He has got, coming up in celebration for International Tabletop Day, so on the 28th of April, down in Plymouth. What are you up to, Mark? I'm just reading through, because I don't want to get it completely wrong. Right, so, tabletop and board gaming club called Game On, running in the Street Factory.
We spoke about that
on the day
a couple of weeks ago. Actually,
yes,
yeah, when they were just starting up. Yeah,
yeah, when they were just starting up. So they are running that in the Street Factory between 12 and 4 p.m. and that's on the 28th of April. So that's the International Tabletop Day. It's the 28th of April,
which is a new international date for us, isn't it? We didn't even know that.
It is a new international date, which we didn't know about. In fact, I even said, at the risk of sounding stupid, what does ITTD even stand for?
Yeah. And it's been
so now I know.
7 of them, apparently. Did you just say? We haven't just Googled it.
Yeah, there has. Yeah. So there are going to be demonstrations of bit of role-playing, all-out war, Dead Zone, painting figures that have been donated by Mantic. There's a raffle, a bring and buy, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering trading table. So they're trying to get everything in there. They are still looking for people that want to demo stuff or show stuff off. So, Warhammer gaming wise, anybody that wants to take stuff down that's Warhammer based and show it off, they'd be well up for that. And what I love is they've got the, hashtag community spirit they've written, which is really ace, isn't it? Kind of fits with the way we look at everything, eh, mate?
Well, yeah, I generally like the tone of everything about it because they're really keen to bring the tabletop community together in Plymouth, and that's awesome. Full support for that. They've got us behind them for doing that. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that is when we're both up in Bristol.
Yeah,
I say sadly. I mean, we're excited because we've got an evening of nattering and then a day of Age of Sigmar gaming. But maybe for next year, mate, one to put in the calendar, we can go along.
Yeah, yeah.
Be the resident celebrities. Woo!
Delusions of grandeur. It's the first sign of insanity.
Be stood there and people would be like, who are those guys? They look shifty. Actually, I was in the local, corner shop the other day, and I spent that long trying to decide over something. The guy came round and started with a basket of stuff to stock up the shelves, but none of it was relevant to that section. And I'm convinced he was checking me out because he thought I was going to nick something.
Well, you do look shifty, mate.
So, on the note of being shifty, I'm going to run off with a packet of mini rolls down my trousers.
So, thinking about people who've been in contact with us as well. Greetings from the Warp. Have got in contact with us to ask us to big up their event in the 7th and 8th of July, which is called Sigmar's Malevolence, which is a word that knew I was going to get wrong. But there you go, Malevolence. And that is...
Isn't Malevolent like one of your most enjoyed films?
What?
Disney film.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it was good. A good surprise as well. Yeah, like the whole thing, actually. So it's match play on the Saturday, 3 2,000-point games, and then Sunday is 5 750-point speed dating games, which I quite like the sound of. That's a Age of Sigmar, obviously, and that's on the 7th and 8th, and those guys are up in Northamptonshire. So if you're in that area or fancy travelling up, that's worth having a look at. Definitely. Well organised events, actually, dude. Their packs are good.
Yeah, it does look like good stuff to try and get along to at some point.
So we've kind of gone ahead of the calendar, but people want us to big up events specifically, and message us, and we're happy to do that. Really am.
We are always more than happy to talk.
Yeah.
Especially about wargaming.
So one of the things I thought would be cool to us to do is to sort of put people onto painters in the area that, or not necessarily even on the area, in the sort of, in the hobby that perhaps they hadn't come in contact with. So, I'm going to start the ball rolling this week by talking about a chap called Will Paints, which you might have heard us briefly mention before, but he is on Instagram, as Will Paints, Will_Paints. He's Will Brightly. He has only been painting models. He's one of those sickening people. He's only been painting models for like a year, perhaps. And he's now good enough to do really nice, commissions for people. It's actually been really cool just watching him speed through the techniques, picking them up and moving on. He's an art student, so he's got the brush control, and I think that's always helpful. I think the two sort of key things for painting are brush control and good eyesight. He's clearly got both of those. And he is local as well. He's a Cornish chap. I got put onto him by a person from America, actually, which is quite incredible.
Yes.
Mr. Josh Gifford. So he's another painter that we'll talk about, or we have put up on before. I may as well talk about him now. So Gifts Minis, Josh Gifford, he's on Instagram too, and he does a lot of other stuff, which I really like following. So he's done a lot of Star Wars, and he's done a fair bit of the Necromunda stuff recently, but other game systems like Dungeons and Dragons and Alien vs Predator. In fact, it was his Aliens models that got me into him. Anyway, he sort of said, "Oh, Ben, you need to check this guy out," and put me on to Will Paints. So there's two painters for you. So if you fancy looking at some modelling by some guys, then that are one doing something slightly different.
This is unreal.
Who are you looking at?
Have you seen his Death Card Land Raider?
Is this Will?
That's all weathered up.
Yeah. It's great, isn't it? So,
wow.
That's something I'd like to do every time we do an episode. Is give a shout out to a person on Instagram or Twitter who's doing awesome stuff, and I think deserves a follow. So start local and not quite so local with Josh Gifford and Will Brightly, two guys worth following. So without any further ado, unfortunately, I have to have my phone out and my phone to look at the calendar because the internet on my laptop is pants. The phone has in the past interfered with our recording, so if there is that really irritating phone buzzy bleep in the background, then I'm sorry. But there's not a great deal we can do about that. So, this episode will be with you on the 25th, and we'll start on the 28th. So, Catacombs of Curtain is Curtain Games. They're running another Shadespire event, and they've been doing a lot of them, and I've got a couple of mates who go to them, Dan, and they love them. Absolutely love them, yeah.
Yeah, fact, I've seen talking about
Marcus is coming along the weekend. Games Workshop Cribs Causeway store birthday this weekend. And as if having a local Shadespire event wasn't big enough, it's the Shadespire Grand Clash in Warhammer World as well this weekend. Midlands Maelstrom 2. Worcester War Games are running a Drop Fleet tournament. You've played a bit of Drop Fleet, haven't you, Dan?
No.
Haven't you?
Sorry, I couldn't resist. No, I've played Drop Zone.
Oh.
So Drop Zone's like the Ground War one. Drop Fleet is the newer game, which is same setting, but in space. Andy Chambers involved in the design.
All right.
He was involved with Battlefleet Gothic. But it's nice to see that on there, actually, because I did a little bit of looking around recently when I dug out my Scourge army, and I couldn't find much going on in the community for the Hawk War Games family stuff that TT have now got, which was a bit of a shame. So it's nice to see that on there.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yep, absolutely.
So good going.
Terra Games in Newton Abbot have got an Age of Sigmar singles tournament on. This is all Saturday the 28th. It's a busy day.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
And then what we've just spoken about, the International Tabletop Day at Game On in Street Factory. On the Sunday is the big British Bristol Independent Gamers Age of Sigmar tournament that we are both attending and looking forward to greatly. If you want to find me, I'll be in the bottom 5 of the rankings, so look for me on the larger number tables. I'll be on one of them. And Mad for Miniatures have got an X-Wing store championship. Mad for Miniatures are based in St Austell. Probably a bit late for you to get tickets for a lot of that. Next week, 3rd, if you're up near Warhammer World, the Bugman's Bar are having a Shadespire tournament. That's
brilliant.
It's cool that they do it separately. And then on the Friday the 4th of May, it's got a number of X-Wing stuff going on. As you probably imagine, Curtain Games and Big are both running May the 4th be with you Star Wars events. So if you're a Star Wars fan, that's the place to be. And X-Wing Wave 1 to 3 tournament at Curtain is running on that same weekend, so Saturday the 5th.
Do you know what else is Saturday the 5th?
No, I do not.
My wife's birthday.
Way! That's an important one.
So I mustn't forget. That's why I put it in. I almost put it in the calendar just to remind me.
Well, it's probably worth doing it.
Reminders on the phone.
Yep, so Thursday the 10th, Barb's Modelling Games, who've just run the pasties and... I don't know what the second part of that name was, but the something and pasties. The pasties is overall and everything. That was yesterday. It was Infinity tournament. I haven't managed to get in contact with them yet to ask how it went. And then on the 11th, 12th and 13th combined, you have the 11th, 12th and 13th is the South Coast GT, which is a huge event for Age of Sigmar. Also Warhammer Fest on the weekend, and Legionary in Exeter on the 12th. Curtain are running a bunch of stuff there too. So there's going to be lots of tournaments and games going on.
Such a shame that is on that day.
It is, isn't it?
I really wanted to go to Legionary.
Yeah.
So few things actually there. Firstly, South Coast GT sounds absolutely epic, and I know the tickets sell out really fast. Heel and Hammer, who are the guys behind the South Coast GT, that's a podcast. That was one that when I came back to the hobby after a few months off when I'd left Games Workshop, they really inspired me to pick up and run with Age of Sigmar. I was naturally keen to get involved anyway, because I wasn't really in the sort of burn my army camp, but listening to those guys and how passionate they are. So that's a really good podcast as well.
It might even be the podcast that seeded this podcast in a weird kind of way.
Yeah. And if you want to listen to some actual sense, it's a good one.
Yes, people who know what they're talking about.
Yeah. So that's cool. Legionary, well worth popping to if you're down that way. I've only been a couple of times, a few years ago, so I don't really know, what it's like size-wise and stuff now, but it was good fun when I went. I like those shows, and I was gutted really to see it was on the 12th. But hey ho. And then of course Warhammer Fest. So, the first photo, that we took that was kind of in the rounds of doing the podcast was Warhammer Fest, wasn't it, dude? With those two guns.
Yeah.
There's that big plasma blast gun. So it's kind of special in a way as like a year on.
Yeah. It is.
And we really hope to see some of you guys there. Dan is on about doing the Age of Sigmar, Throne of Skulls thing that they're doing up there.
Oh, right, yeah.
So that'd be good if he does that. And I'm thinking of taking some Blood Bowl and things to play. So yeah, that'd be ace. And we were actually discussing, weren't we, doing a bit of a recording either as the next episode or a one-off special where we get some people involved that we meet at the show or that we take with us, some of the guys from here, and their thoughts. So you never know, you might even get on the show. Dun dun dun. I can be bribed to get on. In fact, actually, if there are pasties and Diet Coke for sale at the venue, quite happy to have a new co-host, to be honest.
Thanks, man. All right.
That's all right, dude.
So there we go. That's us. I don't think there's much else to talk about coming up. As well, the London GT on the 18th, 19th, 20th. UK Games Expo on the 1st, 2nd and 3rd. They're big ones coming up.
Yep.
Right.
Exciting times.
So there we go.
Oh, and we will obviously, in the next episode, you'll find out just how well we got on at the Age of Sigmar tournament.
Smashed. I got smashed.
Prediction?
Paid. Absolutely battered. Well, there we go. Right. Moving on into the wilds. With a hop, a skip and a jump. We'll see you on the other side.
Dude.
Yes?
I don't hate Balboa. I pity the fool.
Where did that come from?
I just love it.
Hi guys, and welcome to Into the Wilds. Slight change on Dan's introduction of what we're going to go through. We are going to talk about Star Wars, but we're going to add in Blood Red Skies, and we're going to add in Confrontation as well.
Anyone would think that I get overexcited and have no idea what I'm talking about when I do
No
the
one would think that.
introductions.
So
No,
let's start with what actually we were going or plan to do, which is to sort of follow up on the Star Wars Legions.
Yeah, I suppose really it popped into my head because I've seen a lot about it on my Facebook feed. So it's clearly quite popular. Clearly grabbed the imaginations of a lot of people, which I suppose you'd expect with the Star Wars IP. And the rules are actually, you can download the Learn to Play booklet for free from the website. I was just having a look at it. So it's like it's an alternate activation game. So like you do a unit, I do a unit.
Yeah.
I quite like those, to be honest. I find that quite interesting. Epic Armageddon was like that. We used to play that. So that's quite cool. And lots of tokens. I do like tokens, dude.
I don't. I'm the exact opposite. It just annoys me.
Yeah, I love a good token. I've sometimes considered, because you get so many with Fantasy Flight games, filling my bathtub with them. Just relaxing.
On that incredible note, we should probably move on.
Maybe. No, so not loads to say on the Star Wars Legion, only that it's been really interesting to see how popular it is. I'd be really intrigued to hear from anyone that's playing it. Maybe just drop us a message, with your thoughts and experiences. It's not one that's grabbed my money as yet, but I would like to know what people think.
I had a chance to look at the models. It's funny because we're spoilt a little bit when it comes to models nowadays.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So, are they good? Yeah, they're fine. They are. They look okay. The plastic is not as hard as Games Workshop plastic, but it is hard. Scale is odd. It's not 28mm. Nowhere near. I mean, Darth Vader is taller than Severin from Age of Sigmar, the Shadespire box. So, I mean, they're pretty big. And the standard Stormtrooper towers over an Aurok. So, I reckon they're 32mm, although I've not heard any confirmation on scale or declaration that it is our scale, which will make things like the ATST quite a sizable model, actually. Is the detail great? It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. The construction looks dead easy, so, I mean, all in all, they're pretty good. I think, they're far better than the old model game for Star Wars. Oh, help me out, Dab.
HeroClix?
No. Made by Fantasy Flight. Board gamey.
Oh. Something Assault? Imperial
yes,
Assault?
Imperial Assault. Yes, there we go. Got there in the end. Well prepared as ever. Yeah. So, pretty good. I think, like I said, we're spoilt though. I mean, the plastics that Games Workshop produce at the moment are just mind-boggling. But one of the interesting things is, having said that people are very specific about how they paint stuff, a couple of guys who post on our forums have posted different coloured Stormtroopers. I tip my hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well played. Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the next thing we're going to talk about is Blood Red Skies, which I know only that it's an airborne combat game, and that I've only just found out, having had Dan's excitement screamed down the phone line at me, that they have a battle map for fields. So,
yeah, that looks amazing. I don't know a lot more, mate. It's just, I went down to Big the other day, and Jim has a table full of the stuff. Flipping loads of it, and it looks really nice. It's really nicely presented.
Well, they did the demo though, didn't they?
I'm not sure they did it in the end.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I think they're going to, but I don't think they did on that occasion. Which was a shame, a big shame. But, again, rules I've just noticed are available to download PDF for free, or at least a getting started rules booklet. And it is fighter combat, so there is some great games. Wings of Glory, really cool fighter game. And obviously for dogfighting, you've got X-Wing as well. Slightly different, not very World War II, but it is a dogfighting. So it's World War II. So you've got Spitfires, Hurricanes are in there, Japanese Zeros in there as well. So a big range already. As Ben's just said, I got very excited because one of the mats looks amazing. Not going to be too much painting either, so it's appealing, mate, to be honest. The starter set's £40, so that's not, it's not ridiculous, to be fair. So I suspect,
no, it's not ridiculous.
If I don't fall straight asleep with my iPad on my face after we finish recording, I may download the rules and have a little bit of a read. Because it sounds good, and it again designed with Andy Chambers, who did Battlefleet Gothic. I mean, he did loads of stuff, to be fair to him. He's not just done Battlefleet Gothic, but he did Battlefleet Gothic, which I loved as a rule set, and really captured the stateliness of the ships, in my opinion. Yeah. So I think that kind of shows his ability to capture something with the rules. He did drop Fleet Commander as well. For those that are interested, he did Starship Troopers miniatures game he was involved in. So yeah, I reckon the rules will be good. So I might even check this one out, even if it isn't Corn Red.
And do they make their own models, or are they kind of they're not relying on other people?
Well, it's Warlord Games.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's Warlord Games.
Okay, cool.
So yeah,
grand. I mean,
awesome.
It wouldn't take me much to convince me to paint a few Spitfires, if I'm being honest.
No, I don't know what size they are. I think they're quite small.
Even better.
But I'm not actually certain.
Oh, dude. I was in Plymouth Market yesterday, actually. And they had a Star Trek Voyager limited edition Airfix or Revel model. It was about a foot long. Oh, so nearly bought that. I do like I do love the Voyager. It's a nice looking ship.
Do you know what's been getting me? Now that I am able to use an airbrush to actually spray paint, now I'm really tempted. I'd love to get a nice scale, a decent size Galaxy class, and do the Enterprise D.
Enterprise D or E?
D. Galaxy class D.
Yeah, I
love it.
Perhaps. I think I prefer the E.
Yeah, but you're so wrong in so many of your choices.
I'm currently rewatching The Next Generation. Loving that. Picard is everything that I remembered him to be, but Riker is much more of a hoe bag than I remember. He is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. But it has led me to crawl across to the Modifius website, which we've spoken about before, and have a look at their models. They do a fantastic range of Star Trek models, crewmen for the role playing game that they make, and they are very, very nice. And I'm so tempted, dude. I really am. And Hendy Badge was talking about doing the Star Trek roleplay. He said, I don't think there'd be anyone in the area up for it. And I was like, I would totally do that. And then realised I didn't have any more time. So, but I would totally do that. Absolutely.
Do you know, the one thing that is standing in the way of me pushing on with doing some Blood Red Skies? Can't get the flipping website to load on my iPad.
It's always a shame. So the last thing to talk about is Confrontation, which is making a bit of a comeback, or attempting to, with Kickstarter.
It's on Kickstarter, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Everything's on sodding Kickstarter. It seems to me that there's only a few companies that just release their products. They just bite the bullet, invest the money, and release them themselves. Fantasy Flight, Games Workshop, Mantics, not many else. I mean, everything seems to be Kickstarter at the moment. I don't even know how I feel about it.
Do you think, though, and this has just sort of come to me now, there's an element there of certainly like smaller companies. Now that you've got such big players, Games Workshop is massive. And then you've got, Warlord and Mantic and Privateer Press, and they're quite well established, and they have the capital to create games that are of a quality. And if people are out there looking for quality, if you're like a startup, in order to get the capital to create something that can to compete, then really you need to be looking at doing a Kickstarter to raise that money.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it certainly has its place. And don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing the whole model. I think it definitely has its place. But there's too many stories of them coming back to bite people in the butt, like Prodos. Even though they're releasing some fantastic stuff now, they've just done a multi-part Colonial Marine squad that looks wicked. There's still people saying that they haven't got some of the stuff that they ordered right at the start, and I just think it's phenomenal. And there is a bit of you take a big risk as a customer doing a Kickstarter, and I wonder how much legs it's got, but it does certainly give companies a kind of the first rung on the ladder, and I think that's good. But when they're doing it for confrontation, I'm a little bit like, really? No, this was a big game. When 10 years ago, it took a lot of attention away from, Games Workshop, actually, and the models and the way they were being painted, and there was a lot about it that was quite moving things forward. And I think now it just seems a little bit like, surely if it's going to work, it's going to work. If it's not, it doesn't matter how much you kickstart it. If people want confrontation back, they will pay for it. I don't know. But, it's Kickstarter aside, it's exciting because, not that I ever played it, but I knew people who did and they liked it. And I know people who did now and they liked it and they loved it. In fact, Marcus says it's his favourite skirmish game ever. So, and it's always nice to have more players on the field, I think, because that competition makes them all better.
I remember looking it up before. The aesthetic I suppose the trouble is, right, I never felt like that some of the forces looked particularly unified, which is perhaps because it was a skirmish game.
Yeah.
And I prefer unify stuff. And the bases always freak me out because the angle is quite extreme. But that was just a case of loving what you know.
I think the thing that always put me off is surprising, actually, because it was one of the things that drove a lot of things forward, is that they always painted their model in non-metal metallics. And I think, although I might be wrong, it was that drove the current sort of non-metal metallic thing. Although it's taken a few years to sort of get its legs, it's non-metal metallics in miniature painting is now a fairly commonplace technique, whereas back then it wasn't. No one talked about non-metal metallics at all when I was working for Games Workshop. It just wasn't.
No. It
was maybe something that was occasionally done on a Golden Demon entry that you saw and thought, what technique is that? But it wasn't popular. But Confrontation, they did it with all their models. Rackham were painting everything that they produced in non-metal metallics, and not good non-metal metallics. So it didn't look right to me. But obviously, as the game progressed and the models progressed, they sort of got better at it, or the person painting the models refined it, I suppose. And now it's kind of a technique to have under your belt if you're a painter. Whether or not you use it a lot is a different matter entirely, isn't it? But to be able to do it is certainly something that I aspire to do, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. Man, we're off on.
Models are nice, and the painting is real nice, and you get a lot of dudes, don't you?
Yes,
you just get everything.
Yeah. What, on the Kickstarter? Yeah, it's good. Yeah. I think one of the things that my hesitations with Kickstarter always is I don't really understand it. I go on the page and I'm like, what's going on here? And if I pay that much, do I never get to have that other stuff, or can I buy that later, or that kind of thing? I'm
not patient enough, mate. I just cannot deal with giving my money for something that I'm then not going to get.
Oh yeah, I can't even. I even struggle with ordering something in the store.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I will go next door to and pick it up from someone I know that has it. I struggle with it, really do. Handing over your money for something, and yet you do it online all the time. It's weird, isn't it? But there we go. So that's our Into the Wild. It's a bit kind of a mishmash, but there's stuff going on.
That's because there's lots going on, isn't
there?
there?
certainly is. So, that draws us to a close. Really big thanks again, and we say it every week, but we mean it, for interacting with us on social media, because we love it. And
I really like I would just like to shout out again the 2P's hobby forum group that was set up, because the guys in there, it's just so nice to see it, people chatting and commenting and showing off stuff. That's really cool, because obviously with the page itself, we drive the content, because that, or you do most of it, putting stuff up there and interacting with people. But it's really nice to see a little community formed and posting in there. Yeah. Really, really cool. So please, if you've had a look but haven't posted yet and you're not sure, just whack it up. It would be great to see. Ben and I genuinely look at everything that gets posted. Ben is much better at replying than I am. And we are trying to put our initials in, because we confuse people. Although most of my comments have got something to do with skulls, blood, or corn.
Yeah, that's true.
So
it's true.
It is true, isn't it, really? Or I'm taking a jibe at Space Wolves. So you can usually tell one of my comments. But yeah, I just really want to say thanks for getting involved with that.
And if you're a listener and not involved, then yeah, please, because I think it's a nice place, and it's developing into exactly what I wanted it to be, which is how we want the hobby to be, which is positive and friendly and open to everyone. So
yeah, I mean I think a key one was we put up about the FAQ, didn't we? And you read the feed, and there was no lividness or random comments. It was pretty cool, wasn't it?
It was really good. It was nice and positive.
Which was so nice to see.
And if people had a negative thing to say, they gave a sensible adult argument, which is nice. So thanks.
Yeah, it is, because it's not about just agreeing or deciding you love everything that comes out. No. It's just about being polite. Isn't it, really? It is,
yeah. It is. So, on everything, we're at the 2P's podcast, all one word. So that's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Look us up, have a chat, follow us.
We are still on YouTube.
We are? Not that it's...
We've yet to do any incredible video madness, but you never know.
No, I think we might... Should we post some videos from Warhammer Fest, dude?
Yeah, that would be pretty ace, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe we should post a video of me running off with some mini rolls down my trousers.
What? So you're going to commit a felony and post a video of it?
No. I'll buy the mini rolls. And we'll just set it up.
Okay.
So yeah.
Alrighty. So we'll see you next. Well, actually, we haven't really totally decided, but the next episode.
There will be another episode.
Either in 2 or 3 weeks. Either pre or post Warhammer Fest. Depending on stuff.
Depending on how much noise I make in the background with my noisy chair that Ben then has to edit.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you all very much for listening in. We hope we haven't bored you entirely or led you astray in any way. With our ramblings. Please comment. Please let people know. Spread the word. Let others be bored senseless. Guys, have a fantastic couple of weeks with your hobby. Cheers for listening. Bye, guys.